Good evening. How are we all doing today? Happy Wednesday, everybody. Unlike last time we streamed, technology all appears to be working. The mic is on. The music's flowing. My glasses are clean-ish. I'm doing it now. Hello. Let me put them on so I can actually read what you guys are saying. Oh my god, look at those bags. See, this is the problem, is when I clean my glasses, you can see just how tired I look all of the time. I'm going to start having to wear, like... I'm going to have to start wearing makeup for these. Oh. Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, in fact, regardless of where you are in the world. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Plops of Corn was here. He says he can't make tonight, but will watch tomorrow while finishing off one of my big minis for this month's Tale of Many Warhipsters 2. Excellent. Love to hear it. Love to see it. Good evening, the lunch break painter, Nelazar, Mark Watson, Lau Cannon, Ricky Colebrook, Hungry Bert, Mike, Laura Brand, Stephen Walker, Lord Commander Joe, Alucard, Blissient Ruiz, Alec Man, Road Squatch, Simply Brazen, Abdul, Dahi, Captain Mannerings, Flying Muttley, Tom Cross, Sam Nash, Dave Hall. Good evening, one and all. Tonight, we're going to sit and we're going to talk, you and I, face to face, person to person, mano a mano. We're going to sit and talk for a little bit, because I've been doing some reflecting. I'm doing some reflecting from Monday. I'm doing some reflecting today, in fact, whilst I've been in the midst of doing lots and lots of things. So I've been doing a little bit of reflecting about what we might end up doing throughout the month of May. And, you know, what's potentially coming down the pipeline for summer. Obviously, we have AOS 4 is on its way. And so once that arrives, it's going to be full steam ahead on whatever that box is called. Maybe it's called the Vermin Doom. I don't know. We'll be full steam ahead with Age of Sigmar 4. Not that that has ever stopped us in the past. I suspect I am one of the top amount of channels with the top amount of Age of Sigmar content on YouTube, which is how it should be. And there's only ever going to be more Age of Sigmar stuff on the way. However, with AOS 4 on the horizon, it does mean that with June, July, generally what we've seen from Games Workshop is June, July time when you have the main core box drops. After that, until about November, and then you've got Christmas. So usually until about the end, about 2 weeks into December, it is full steam ahead. There will be tons of new stuff, I'm sure. Loads of new models, loads of new kits, loads and loads of things. So, essentially, the second half of the year becomes an absolute free-for-all in terms of the amount of cool stuff that I'll want to paint for the channel. Which means that keeping up with things like the release schedule and doing lots and lots of all of the new stuff in May and potentially most of June as well, becomes difficult. So, because it's basically it's now or never to do other stuff, essentially. You might get a week here or there, you might get a weekend here or there, but it's gonna, as I've said, traditionally, usually the second half of the year is always much busier, right? So, I am thinking that for the month of May, I may just take a little break. And I don't mean take a little break from streaming or from making videos. I mean, take a little break from hammering it quite as hard, getting stuff done as it comes out on the Saturdays. And what will this mean for all of you at home? Well, it will mean that I will be able to do things like paint the Saviours of Cinderfall. It means I will be able to do things like paint the torments for the accursed cultists. It will mean I'll be able to do things like the Varangard video. It will mean I will be able to do things like Gore Grunters, if Curtis is watching. Eisenhorn, as you guys have been asking for. It means that I will be able to do stuff like that, essentially. And I wanted to kind of talk to you guys tonight about that, because obviously you are also part of the decision-making process. You also get your options in. The things you want to see and get done, and this, that, and the other. Because as we have talked about, what I need to do is, if I'm going to do this, I need some assurances from my most loyal audiences that you will watch the watch the videos. Ooh, can you do a Crimson Court video if you get the time? Which was the Crimson Court? Crimson Court. Warhammer. Oh, it's them. Yeah. So, okay, so yeah, that's the point, right? If we do this, it means I can take a step out of doing every Saturday. Unless something like Superb comes out, you know, something like in May, if like, let's say, and again, guys, I don't know if this is true, don't take this from me as gospel, but there's a very small window of time now where Abraxia, the Spear of the Everchosen, will come out. Because AOS 4 is very, very, very close now, and the Dawnbringers book theoretically won't come out after the edition is changed over. It'll come out before. So, if Abraxia comes to me, then of course we'll get that one done, because I'm really excited to do that. Really excited to do that video and paint that miniature. But I'm thinking maybe we just take our foot off the gas for a month and do some stuff that that you guys want to see. But I need, like I said, I need you to promise you'll watch the bloody videos. AOS launch box in May for content creators. Oh, I doubt it'll be in May. I doubt it'll come in May. If indeed they send it at all. They might not. You never know. Games Workshop might suddenly change the policy and go, we're only going to send this to people who, I don't know, make rules content or whatever. You never know. I need your guide for mandrakes, but all honesty, stay true to yourself. Andy, the mandrakes are done. Here they are. Here's a mandrake. That video is coming out tomorrow, so don't you worry about that. So the way I see it, guys, the way I see it is that I've got obviously something that's coming on Saturday. There's a video that will be out on Saturday, which you guys, you know, should expect and should know what that video will be. I will not confirm it, but I've got a video coming out on Saturday. I've got the Mandrakes coming out on Thursday. I've got the Generatorum Hub. And then I've also been working on the Yggdrasil Riverblades. There we are. So there's a Yggdrasil Riverblade. If I get the Riverblades done and the Pyregeists done, that's both the Warcry and the Kill Team box done. That's brand new stuff, right? If I get all of that done, if if I keep up with what I said I would do, because I know you guys want to see the Pyregeists and stuff like that. If I keep up with doing all the stuff that you wanna see, then that takes us nicely to the end of April. So from May, from about the first weekend of May or something, I've then got nothing but time. And I think going from that point onwards, maybe it's time to change things up just for a little bit, just so that I can, like you guys are saying, take some days off. Well, I don't know about days off, guys, but I can get some stuff done that you might not necessarily normally expect in the month of May. Any tips for Pink Flame? Doomfire Magenta is very, very pink, and then you could highlight it with white. Give it a sort of, slightly flamier thing. Pink is quite difficult, obviously, because there aren't, there's you could try and do blends through to pink, but like really, honestly, the darker parts of pink are purple, so you could blend from purple into pink. But we shall see. I'd love to see a Blood Crushers video. Yeah, we could do that. I have a Blood Crusher built. I'd have to build another too. So yeah. Now, a secondary part of this. Would you want to see a video diary as well that goes alongside this? Would that be something you would want to see? So if, for example, we spent the first week of May building everything that we were going to do in May, or try and get done in May, we then have sort of every so often we have that video that comes out that goes, hey, this is everything that we did. Speaking for a lot of people, probably rather have you take time off and be around longer instead of burning out. Well, this isn't burnout. No, it just means I film myself more. Josh doesn't get burnt out. What Josh does is he gets sad. So the reason why I'm talking about this, because it's not, like I said, it's not like a burnout type thing. It's not like I'm sad or tired or anything. I mean, I am all of those things all of the time. But it's not that that's impacting this decision. It's that I'm thinking about doing this because this means that I end up taking the time back from... rather than being beholden to a different type of schedule, it means I can do what I want on my terms. And I think what that will do is it will really rev up my brain in terms of being able to just like get stuff done, because whilst there will always be requests for things on the internet, people will always be asking for a different model that you haven't done yet, or a different way of doing the same model. Everyone will always be asking for that. At least if I'm able to get some of that stuff done, those questions go, right? So the great example that we talked about on Monday was Shalaxi Hellbane. If I get Shalaxi Hellbane done, it's then done. So you can stop asking for it. More time for Baldur's Gate. Oh, I haven't turned Baldur's Gate on in a long time. We could all come over and help. Bretonians, yeah. See, that's another one, right? A big old thing like the Bretonians, right? I've got that box. It's downstairs. Adam built it all up, and I simply haven't had the time to get to any of it. So being able to do stuff like do the Bretonians, this is it. This is what I'm thinking is, it's a bit of an experiment in that it's a bit of an experiment in terms of, does the channel survive? In terms of, like, you see, we've had such wonderful growth. He's playing with his sword again. Yeah, I know. I'm stimming. This is the thing. I needed to keep my hand busy. I should just play with this cube. That's what I should do. So the whole point is, like, those, as we talked about on Monday, those older videos, when you paint something that is not related to anything that's going on right now, nobody cares usually. So you'll put out something that one person might be asking for a lot, and that person might watch the video, but a lot of other people won't. There is a bit of a risk involved in that you go, okay, for this month I'm going to just forge my own path, but continue to do the same thing that I always do. So we go down the route of how to paint, right? We don't go into the realms of we don't go into the realms of, like, turning it into a different kind of YouTube channel at all. It's just you continue down that route. I recently found your channel and I've loved it so far. Currently doing your 30 Contrast Plus tutorial for 30k Magnus. Thank you for all the videos you have done so far. Well, thank you very much, chap. That's very kind of you. I'm glad you're enjoying that one. Mr. Peter Collins is here. The risk is always real when moving away from the current releases, especially while GW leads into the rapid release schedule and are very obviously going with the rapid fire and get it or miss out. So the honest answer is the core 150 of us or so that are us here aren't the issue. It's the 4,000 plus others who are probably looking for new stuff and the odd video on something old they won't watch. Well, there you go. There you go. You're not wrong, Peter. That's it. There is that risk associated with it. And one of the things that, if I make this decision, I have to be okay with is that growth goes down, and that the business basically, the channel basically takes a hit. I have to be okay with that. But as you can see, down in the bottom right corner, I'm on 170 painted models already this year, and that right there, that's just 170 models is an obnoxious amount of models to have painted already, and all of it has been on camera so far. I think only like 3 or 4 of them haven't been actually. No, I think 6, about 15, maybe 16 of them weren't on camera. So it's already been a lot. So there's plenty more to come. So if I finish everything, that I need to get done in April, we will finish on 200, right? Michael, sorry I'm late. You're never late, Michael. You arrive precisely when you mean to. Huge fan of the channel. I've learned lots from your style. Thank you, Michael. I'm glad I could help. I purchased Shalaxi 15 minutes ago and finished Bellicor using your guide at the weekend. Love your stuff. Oh, well done, Dougie. Well done. Shatterpoint Saturdays. Well, so this is it, right? As I know you guys... Also, by the way, just before we continue any further, if you could leave a like on the stream, that would be very, very useful. It is a free way to support the channel and this video, which means more people will come and watch, and more people will subscribe to the channel. That would be very, very nice. Very kind of you. We're already 4 away from the first target of 50. Our second target is, of course, the immortal number of 69. However, if you wish to support the channel a little bit further, we are, of course, raising money to upgrade the PC here so we can move into 4K videos and video capture and processing and all that kind of thing. Or if you would like to become a member, that would also be incredible. We are 54 away from our target of 700 members, which, if everybody here was to either gift one or become a member, You get access to the Discord and things like that. But then that would put us well over and above. And that is the YouTubey bit done for the first half an hour of the stream. There you go. You've already smashed it. You've already smashed the first two like goals. We're on 70 likes already. So 30 more, and we get to our next goal of 100. So yeah. I paint a lot of miniatures, and I love painting miniatures, and I love painting lots of different miniatures. What I don't like doing is not painting miniatures. I don't like not finishing things off. That makes me sad. There are also a number of projects that got abandoned because other stuff got in the way. And I would like to get those done, because they need to be done. And because of the way my brain works and the way content creation works, especially with the release schedule as crazy as it is and as crazy as it can be, because of all of that, it means that some stuff just sits in the to-do list forever. And I don't think that should happen anymore. I think we should stop that. I think I should stop that. I think maybe we should take May, as it was mentioned earlier. I can't remember who said it, but Me Time May is a great example. Great idea. We'll get so much done if we do Me Time May. If I was to do all the stuff that's just for me, oh boy. Because I would get super inspired, there's that and the other. But that's the thing, is it's not all just for me, right? Dougie Jones, thank you very much for the £5. That is very, very kind of you. You are our first super chat of the day. That is awesome. You're the best. Love you. And Simply Brazen has become a member as well. You are our first new member of the day. You win the prize of being the first new member of today. Thank you very much. That is very, very kind of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I very much appreciate it. Darth Windu. It's a great name. I recently found your channel after searching for some help using contrast paints. I've learned a lot so far and used both your Bloodletters and Bloodthirster guides. Absolutely incredible. Awesome, Darth Windu. That's fantastic. I love to hear it. Thank you. Tattoo Zoologist, I've put the word out in Swindon and Cambridge about your channel, and some mates will subscribe as they are AOS fans. We are one day going to be the biggest AOS channel in the world. That is what we are going to be. We're not there yet, but we will one day be there. That would be the best thing ever. Not only do I learn a lot from your videos, but your vibe is so chill. Sometimes I just enjoy having your videos on as background noise. Thank you for everything you do. Do whatever makes you happiest. Oh, thank you, Xenowolf. That's very kind of you. Yeah, we try and keep things nice and relaxed around here. It's just Warhammer. It's not a reason to get stressed out. It's not a reason to get all frantic. Good evening, Scarbrand. Hello, Dasmore Wargaming. How are you, buddy? Fully support Me Time May. It's not a bad idea, is it? We could call it that. Just call it Contrast Plus Me Time May. That's a lot of... No, because then the titles become obnoxiously long, and they're already pretty long as it is. I wanted to ask some advice on how to paint the white robes of Olinda with contrast paints, please. We can absolutely... I can absolutely try and help you out with that. So... I can't exactly remember what Alice and I did together. If she's watching, I don't know if she can remember what we did, but let me look at it. Lady Olinda. Yes. So, one of your best bets, I think, with her is get your blends in first. So prime it white. And then get your blends at the bottom done first. You could use stuff like Griff Charger Grey. You could use stuff like... You could even use Nuln Oil. You could even use Nighthaunt Gloom if you thin it down a little bit, just to get that blend in done. It's fine, because you're not blending it into the main colour. You are... I mean, you technically are. The main colour is white. Then, for the... then for, like... For her, the best thing you can do with like the recesses and stuff is you can move towards something like Briar Queen Chill. Thin it down just a little bit with a bit Lamy and medium, maybe 1 or 2 parts, and then just because her robes are actually quite angular, So like around the eyes and the nose and all that kind of thing. But her main robe, there's really clear recesses and edges in the robe. And what you can get away with doing is just pulling it down those areas and leaving the white as it is. That is a really good place to start. And then, of course, you can layer it back up with white. And you can go for white scarf, highlights, and this, that, and the other. That's obviously where I would start to look. If you want to go for a different colour, of course, you want to go for, like, you know, a more not white colour for the main part of the robe. The simplest thing to do is just take it a section at a time and move through it. Thin it down with Lamy and medium a little bit. Maybe do 2 layers. This, that, and the other. But yeah, I mean, Briar Queen Chill is an excellent paint for her because it's that perfect. If you look on the top right corner of the model when you're looking at a picture of her, she's got this sort of off blue that's going on in there. It's a white robed miniature, so using a little bit of thinned down Briar Queen Chill 1-to-1 mixed with Lamy and medium, absolutely gets that spot on colour just there. Dave Hall has been a member for 27 months. Thank you very much, Dave. Nothing has linear growth. Invest in yourself. I'm not quite there yet, but one day I will be. Simply Brazen says, loved watching you teach the Great Hall to play AOS. I really enjoyed doing that. I'm very, very envious of the setup that Liam has, and I wish I had something similar, because I think I would be able to make my office/studio feel a bit more linear, and a little bit more organized. At the moment, it is a bit of a bowl of spaghetti, and I keep a lot in here, and I'd like to not keep as much in here. I'd like it to be more like labeled out on shelves, for example. But we'll get there eventually one day. Quite a way off being able to do that. Remind me when you're up in knots. Brain like a sieve. 18th and 19th of May is the Reforged event. Now I need to check. Yes. 18th and 19th of May. My grandson Noah, age 8, loves the channel and is allowed to watch a tutorial for 15 minutes before bed. That's very cute. I love that. This is why I should do story time, right? Stuart says, what purple would you recommend to paint my Barak Var dwarves? Is it Barak Var or Barak Nar? Let me look it up. Barak Var. Based on the banner from Warhammer Total War, you won't go far wrong with Leviathan Purple. Leviathan Purple would really work. I'm very well, thank you, Yamail Angmar. How are you? Hey War, have you ever considered investing in 3D printing for your minis? I always see you doing GW stuff, and I am wondering if you ever consider it. Honestly, no. I don't need to learn another hobby. Look, I mean, I would do it if it was... I don't think I would ever use it to print minis. The reason why is I hate building at the best of times. So having to design it, print it, wait for it, UV it, then clean it, then all that kind of stuff is my idea of hell. If I had the idea to do something, I would rather buy it, wait 24 hours, have it arrive, build it in 2 hours, and then prime it and be done. And get on with painting it. The problem with 3D printing is, one, a lot of it is infringement of copyright and often, in my opinion, looks worse. Two, it's very expensive to get into. Obviously, the operating costs of it can be cheaper, but the electricity bill is high enough as it is. Two, don't have a space. Do not have a space to do any 3D printing at all here. So I would have to sacrifice. I'd have to basically sacrifice something to do it, and I don't want to do that. And it's just it's a whole other skill. I'd want to design stuff myself, and I just don't have the time. I just don't want to do it. Hello, the Mini Creative. No, everything is fine. What I'm considering, and I'll recap for those of you who are just joining now. What I'm considering doing is basically taking the month of May to do a bunch of stuff that I don't normally get the time to do. So basically just saying, unless something super cool, like Abraxia, Spear of the Everchosen, comes out, that actually we just go, we'll leave that for another time, and we'll use this time to get stuff done that I have said I will do, but have just never had the time to do. A great example of that is stuff like this guy. So doing stuff like the Torments for the Chaos Cultists. Doing stuff like Shalaxi Hellbane. Doing stuff like the Saviours of Cinderfall, which I know a bunch of people have been asking me when am I going to do it. I had to wait for it to arrive. Games Workshop didn't send me the Saviours of Cinderfall, so I bought it, I've built it, I've primed it, and then I'm sat there with these 6 beautiful primed minis, and I go, when do I ever get the time to do these? So I want to paint them because I know you guys want to see it. But if I stick so religiously to the release schedule of stuff coming out on Saturday, whilst it is the new thing and that is the thing people want to see, it means that I don't get time to do those things. So what I'm considering doing is spending the month of May basically doing everything else but. And that's what I mean. So what I was talking about earlier is that the second half of the year, as has been tradition for the last sort of 3 years of me doing this channel, second half of the year is an incredibly busy time. So if I don't do it now, it won't get done this year. There are certain projects and stuff that will just not get done this year. They'll be done next year. We'll have to wait until January. And I don't really want to keep everybody waiting forever. Did you see the new Stormcast Reclusians? They looked pretty cool. Yes, they did. I'm very, very excited. I'm really excited for AOS 4. Really very excited for it. Run a poll. Run a poll on what, Fabian? Should I take a break or should I not? Oh, enjoy it, Tattooed Zoologist. I finished it yesterday. It's very good. I enjoyed it. But as part of this conversation, if I do do a Shalaxi Hellbane video, everyone's got to watch it, even if you don't care. You've got to sit and watch it. You've got to watch it for at least 15 minutes, so you don't kill its average. Because I swear, if I do Shalaxi Hellbane, if I do that video and I put it up, and it goes, yeah, in the first hour it's had 100 views, I would be like, never again. I've definitely been having moments lately when I just want to play the game more than I want to paint. Also, just taking time to not think about Warhammer is starting to sound nice. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that is important time. I try and have that time. So what I do is when I'm, for example, when I'm building, painting, or doing anything to do with Warhammer, I don't actually consume any Warhammer content. So most of the time, um, most of the time, uh, I'm actually, if I have a Warhammer adjacent day, I'm not actually consuming anything to do with Warhammer. So when I'm filming, more often than not, I've got people playing Call of Duty on the live stream, or I'm watching, sort of film stuff, or things like that. I used to do things like I would try and listen to audiobooks whilst I was painting, but it's just too much Warhammer at once. It becomes like, oh god, just everything everywhere you look is Warhammer all the time, which is fine for a little bit, but when you do it all day every day like I do, it becomes too much. Which is is what it is. So yeah, well, I consume a lot of YouTube. Naturally I do, because I'm on YouTube. I'm a YouTuber, so I watch what other people are doing on YouTube in order to understand how I can make my stuff better on YouTube. I said YouTube a lot then. So it is what it is. You have to do those kinds of things. But yeah, I just try not to consume too much Warhammer content. If I'm not there yet, if I'm not there yet with in terms of what making videos or painting or whatever that day, I will watch things like I'll watch like Tabletop Tactics in their battle reports and stuff, or I might listen to an audiobook. But most of the time, I'm not consuming Warhammer content because I'm making it, and there's too much. If there's too much, then you end up, like I said, you end up burning out. You have to be careful with your consumption. Release Shalaxi alongside Index Emperor's Children. Yamel, do you know what I was thinking? I was thinking if I do Fulgrim Transcended, that'll annoy some people. What about other mini painting stuff? I drop in on Jamie Daggers on Twitch when I can. Yeah, sometimes. Although, like, whilst you're watching, if I'm watching, I can't watch a lot of other people paint whilst I'm painting, because it's like everywhere you turn, it's the same thing. Painting to the right of me, painting to the left of me, into the valley of death, into the valley of painting, the light. The Warhipster Brigade did charge. Heard a rumour that Fulgrim Transcended was released deliberately to annoy the main studio. That would be funny. I mean, sometimes you do get the impression that sometimes at Games Workshop things are a little bit tribal between certain departments. That makes sense. I've just noticed a long grey hair in my beard. Alice, if you're watching, turns out there are grey hairs in my beard. We were talking about this the other day. The top of my head, in here, there's loads of grey hairs. But there weren't that many in my beard. I was like, I don't think I have any. Nope, there's one right there. That's fun. Do you pause the channel? No. No, and so everything that we're talking about tonight, it means that I wouldn't be going away. You'd still be getting the same amount of live streams, same amount of videos. None of that changes. It's just that what that content of those videos would be stuff that you guys have been asking for a while, but not necessarily going to be the most popular content, which is a hit I have to take. Warhipster cannot pause. It seems it's impossible for him. Well, yeah, there is a degree of that. If you haven't already, I did go into this in quite a lot of detail. If you haven't already, do go and check out Liam Dempsey, where there is an interview with me that's about 2 hours long, where we talked about that in quite a lot of detail. It's really good. If you enjoy listening to my voice, head over to Liam Dempsey. I'll drop a link for you. I will send you the video. There it is. Terminated Tuesday. Yeah. I mean, I haven't played video games for a little while now. A couple of days. And that's it. I would like to see if at some point this year I could maybe get video gaming off the ground. Speaking of less popular things, any hopes for Drukhari tutorials? It just so happens, chap, that tomorrow you're getting a Drukhari tutorial. You're getting a Mandrix tutorial tomorrow. Chris, you can bother me with any questions you like. You've got me for at least another hour and 15 minutes. We've got to fill the air somehow. Yes, I am. I'm perpetually painting. I'm painting all the time. I sometimes worry that I overly rely on it as a mechanism for calming my head, but it works, so there's no reason to not do it, as it were. It is a coping mechanism with the it's the escapism as part of it, and then as obviously it's my business, which is why I talk about it. It is a dream job, because I get to paint miniatures for a living, and I love doing that. I really love doing that. It means that I spend in a day, if I have a fully productive day, so if I start at 1 or 2 o'clock and I paint until 4 or 5 a.m. If I have a fully productive day, even if I have to spend 2 hours editing a video, there's still 12 hours there where I'm painting, which is just fantastic. Fair enough. Out of all the Hollowmorn-esque green schemes you did in your FEC videos, which one did you enjoy the most? I have decision paralysis because they all look so good. Honestly, I think one of the best ones is Gut Ripper Flesh followed by Poxwalker. It's really simple and really effective, and it just works. But having them all be different colours, I think actually, or slightly different shades of green, really works for the army. So yeah, I think we absolutely should do it. You know, I'd mix and match just a little bit. Toads Pilot, thank you very much for becoming a member. You are our second new member of the day. That puts us on 648 members. We are 52 away from 700, guys. It's not far. Gotta run. Dogs need letting out. Just want to say, as many others will, whatever format your videos and streams take, me and my family will always keep watching and supporting you. Thank you, Dana. That's very kind of you. Another really good video for you, Chris. If you haven't checked it out, check out the Croute video I did for the carnivores. There's a number of really cool recipes in there which will also work for Hollow Morn ghouls. You might even find something in there. Gandalf the White tutorial, pretty please. It's my birthday the 4th of May, and it will be a 12-month anniversary of being a member of the channel. No worries if you can't. I'll see if I can get that done for you, Ricky. Gandalf the White. I mean, it's pretty easy to do. He's right here. There he is. He's primed and ready to go. But again, when does one find the time to do such things? Have you done any resin models on your channel? If not, would you recommend beginners on buying Forge World ones? I have done some resin models on the channel, yes. So I've done things like what's it called? Saul Tarbits. That's a resin model I did. I did in the Custodes video very recently. We've done the Dreadnoughts. I've done the Achilles Dreadnought. I've done the tank. What the hell is it called? Oh god, I've forgotten the name of it. Oh, what's the tank called? What's the tank called that I did? Caladius Grav Tank. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. I've done Horus. I've done Horus, big one. What was he called? Horus Ascended. Jagadai Khan. Magnus the Red. The Lion. Sanguinius. I've got Mortarion to do. And I've also got Fulgrim Transcended. Horus Ascended, yeah. I hated painting Gandalf the White. He came out looking like chalk. Oh no. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can get him done. The trick, I think, for Gandalf will be the difference between Gandalf and Shadowfax. Constantine Valdor as well. Yes, no, I did do that. I also done a Praetor as well. Have you used Space Wolves Grey Contrast at all? I also play Space Wolves and want to build a bit of a grim dark skin with only a hint of blue rather than the more usual light-ish blue. Would that paint work? So, Space Wolves Grey can work. It is very pale though. If you check out the Space Wolves videos that I've done on the channel, you'll see what it looks like. What I generally have tended to do is use Space Wolves Grey and then glaze it with Rust Grey to give it that, you know, really solid color. If you want to tint something, if you want to make it like much darker with a hint of that blue in there, you could maybe start from Mechanicus Standard Grey, but don't quote me on that. If you look up, in fact, you can see what I mean. If I go to did I do it? Looks like, no, I haven't done it. Space Wolves Grey. Here you go. So I did a whole on the first release of contrast paints. I did a whole what it looks like series. They're 60-second videos that are just showing you what the colour looks like over Grey Seer and Wraithbone. And they've also done it over metallics as well. That's another series I need to get on with. That's something I could do in May as well, to finish that one, because we haven't finished it. There's loads left to do on it. That's great. Well reminded. Watching your Flesh Eater Quartz videos, you mentioned you thin down Pallid Witch flesh when you use it. I'm assuming it's water you're using. Is that correct? That is correct, Nelazar. Yeah. Just a little bit of water out the pot. Question. At your Night Lords video, did you thin down Stormfiend contrast or just from the pot? Just straight from the pot. Yeah, it's straight from the pot. If you want to, what you can do is you can take take 4 brushfuls out and then thin it down with 1 part medium. That will help with the flow on some cases. That's the golden ratio I've found for making it slightly easier. And I would use Lahmian medium rather than contrast medium. Because if you're struggling to apply it smoothly, then adding more contrast paint to it, whilst it will thin it down, it just keeps more of the contrast properties. Whereas if you add Lahmian medium, it turns it into a more familiar paint. So Lahmian medium is really good for just improving the flow. It will dilute the paint a little bit, but that's okay. Especially on that Night Lords video, because you end up doing 2 layers of it anyway. John at the bar. I'm finally home for a live stream. Absolutely love your tutorials and currently priming some Tau Pathfinders. Awesome, John. And well done for getting home on time. Welcome to the live stream. Good evening, Mr. ADR Wargaming. How are you, sir? Will adding comments to your videos help? Never sure how much they help. Yeah, no, they do help. So the more comments that a video gets, the more a video will start to it. So if you put out a video out, if I put a video out on a Saturday, if you comment on it, it appears in more people's for you or recommended videos bar on the right hand side, but also in their subscription feeds. It surfaces it higher because it shows that there's engagement with the video. The more engagement there is with the video, the more popular it ends up being. What would you recommend for a batwing membrane? A batwing membrane. Let me look it up. What are they called? Corpse bats, right? No. Fell bats? Not a corpse bat. It's a corpse rat and fell blood. Oh, these are interesting. So for the fell bats, I would consider using something along the lines of maybe Agrax Earthshade as the base over. Probably do it over something like Grey Seer, to be honest. Keep them dark. Use Agrax Earthshade, then shade the whole thing with Seraphim Sepia. Then blend in a flesh paint, so maybe Guilliman flesh, and then at the bottom I would blend in some Wildwood, is what I would do. To get the GW version of it, is probably how I would do it. Guys, there's a lot of grey names in the chat. I'm just saying. Can we try and get some get these people some memberships? Yeah. See if I can get you some memberships. Can I do it? Let me see. I'm not sure I have a. I can. I'm going to try and snipe 5 of you. Boom. There you go. Make sure, if you haven't already, join the Discord. Can I request Soulblight Gravelord's Blood Knights for your break month? It's my 40th birthday today! Happy birthday, Yamail Angmar! Happy birthday! Congratulations! You can certainly request Blood Knights. I have many to do. I have 10 of them in my possession. Glad to catch you. While I play less GW these days, I've been adapting your schemes for monsters for my D&D companions. Love your videos. Thank you very much, Maleficent Ruler. That's very kind of you. I'm glad you enjoyed. Have you heard of Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings? I have heard of Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings. Whereabouts do we find the Discord link? So if you go to the channel page, so if you go to youtube.com/Warhipster, and it should say, like, the second thing down. So at the top it'll say, I may change things up, take a little break, because I'm actually actively live at the moment. Underneath it, it should say our members. Thank you, channel members. And it should over on the right say see perks. If you click on that, you'll be able to see your should be able to see your perks. And one of them is to join the Discord link just there. Or it should say it at the top, see perks. You should be able to see it. Yesterday I painted my first wet blending between 2 colours and I'm so goddamn proud. I literally sat down and cried. Tears of steel, of course. Yes! Crying! We love crying around here. I do it all the time. For the record, came over after seeing you on Dempsey and he's driving to places for reasons, so isn't streaming, and thought I'd check you out. Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming over. He is driving to places for reasons. I don't know what reasons he's driving for. I just know that he's driving to places for reasons. But I bet it's a fun reason. Shake my fist at him. You got people playing Conquest where you... I've no idea, Polonius. Probably somewhere. Below the Blade has gifted £5 of the finest sterling, saying, hey, Mr. Warhipster, I hope you're doing well and defo take a break before AOS 4.0. Looking forward to a Pyregeist guide. I need Nighthaunt inspiration. Thank you very much, Below the Blades. Yeah, so my plan is to get that done. To get the Pyregeists done. Get that video done maybe next week, depending on how this week goes. And like I said, I've committed to getting Pyre and Flood done. I started the Yggdrasil Riverblades. They are mostly battle ready, apart from the ones I haven't filmed yet. So I'm nearly done with them, and then it was Pyregeists after that. But I'm working on something else this week at the moment, which you will all find out what that is very soon. We don't have Adrax, Agatone, and Phyros on this channel. I do have them, though. I could just sell them to you. Do you want one? I do need to redo Adrax for my Salamander's army. So maybe I'll buy him and do him during my month. Pyre and Flood, Chip and Pin, Fish and Chips. There you go. Says Mr. ADR Wargaming. And Nelazar with the $10 took a 6-day weekend here to paint my Flesh Eater Courts. Big thanks from Salt Lake City, Utah. Your soothing voice will be with me all weekend as I watch your guides. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Very generous of you. Thank you. I very much appreciate that. I think that puts us on like something like that. 538. Hi, I started painting again after 15 years, and thanks to you, I learned a lot about the stuff that came out in the hobby. I will ask my question in the next message. By the way, thank you for the inspiration. I was wondering what... Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for watching the videos. I was wondering what you think about painting not assembled minis, since in all of your videos you paint them fully assembled. There are too many tiny unreachable spots for me. So, the reason I don't do sub-assemblies, Lorenzo, is because I'm impatient. And I like to have the models built so I can visualize them better. It also means that I can take them straight to being on the tabletop, and it also means I don't have to do any additional prep whatsoever to the miniatures. So what you have, for example, is when people sub-assemble and leave the heads off of things, they drill a little hole on the underside and then put a little pin in there to then they can paint the head separately. That's adding so much time, personally to me, adding a load of time to the build process, and I hate building, right? I also find it much harder to prime stuff like that. It's just really irritating from my perspective. So that's the reason why I don't do it. The other reason why I don't do it is because if I build in sub-assemblies, because of who I am and the way I paint, I will end up spending a lot of time focusing on details that you might not ever see. So things like, if you have, like, for example, a cape, which can be quite difficult to reach, of course it can. If you end up doing loads and loads of edge highlights to the inside of it, and then you glue it on and you can't see any of that, you've wasted a bunch of time doing it. For my part, that is really annoying, which is why I don't do it. The other benefits of doing painting things fully assembled is you gain a lot more kind of practice at brush control, right? Because part of brush control is being able to get the brush into those more difficult to navigate areas and to also extract it without getting paint everywhere else. So you actually is a net benefit to doing it that way, because you learn a little bit more about kind of, one, like the percent, your hand-eye coordination when it comes to your brush. Two, it's also a detail you might not ever see. And three, it just saves time. It just mostly, yeah. That's why I don't do it. But I recognise that for a lot of people, that it is much easier to do things that way. So if you want to sub-assemble, absolutely sub-assemble if it makes things easier for you. So yeah, it is what it is. I personally don't do it for all of those reasons. Watched like 50 plus videos of yours at a minimum, and I've never seen you use contrast on such a big surface like that frog head from the box. It came out so good. Oh, this guy. I really enjoyed painting this one. It was nice. Do you have any advice for the gold filigree on Lumineth Elemental Temple units? It looks like hell to paint. Oh, like which ones? I'll have to have a look. A tip for full assembly too can be to paint it black, then zenithal. Lots of the recesses will remain dark, and you won't have those small tight spaces screaming grey sear at you. Yeah, I mean, that is another way of doing it, absolutely. Used Jenga blocks are amazing for handles and for pin sub-assembly. That's a great idea, Justin. I've not thought about that. I mean, again, I personally won't do it because I don't want to drill holes in pieces and then put pins in them to paint them separately. Just don't want to do it. I tried a dreadnought in sub-assemblies. The arms wouldn't go in anymore because the added width from the primer, that was hell. Yeah, that can happen as well. Just catching up. Definitely will be there for all of your content. New Necromunda content on the horizon. Hint, hint. Well, they don't generally tend to send me Necromunda stuff. So the armor of the Riverblades, the white armored chest pieces have these lines of gold filigree running along them. Is it gold? I always just assume it's like with the what's it called? It's like the Avalanor Spirit of the Mountain. It's just shaded. It's just brown. Is usually what I do. So I use Agrax Earthshade and then I relayer it with white. Do you put varnish on your finished models? I do not, Fabian. I don't ever see the need for me. I have quite dry hands, so paint doesn't rub off when I touch stuff. Help me pick a colour for my Stormcast. Going with steel armour with gold and copper trim, but need a bright colour for the shoulders and shield faces. What do you think? I think with silver, some of the nicest colours that go with silver are blue or green. Blue or green will really work. You could go for red if it juxtaposed with brown. The thing is you want like a bright cold color, because silver is quite cold. So you know, like Hallowed Knights have got blue as the off color. It just matches with the silver quite nicely. Whereas Hammers of Sigmar obviously go with the blue as well. So blue can work with a warm color. It just looks a lot warmer with blue and gold next to each other. So, I mean, purple can also work with silver. Yep, Chewie's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, if you're going with steel armor, blue is a great color that goes alongside, but that is Hallowed Knights if you're trying to do something slightly different. Green can really work. Green looks fantastic next to silver. If you go for like a mid-green, something like Orc Flesh or something like that, really looks very nice. It's gonna be almost like Forest Warrior type thing. It's very reminiscent of like heavily armored Wood Elves, for example. Has the stream just died? No. just my browser. So you just wash it with Earthshade, then layer up the white, you said. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. If you check out this video, of Valinor, the Stoneheart King. Check out this video, Elec Man. This one here. That will help you. Green always gets my vote. Yeah, green really works with silver. It looks fantastic. Purple is nice too. You want to go for a mid purple though. You want to have like a purple with like a little body to it, so like Leviathan purple would really work. I've looked at Dark Angel's green for the fabrics and Caliban green on the flat surfaces, but worried that it might be too dark. No, that would work. That would work. Caliban green is just about on the edge of being too dark. You wouldn't want to go for something like Castellan green, because that's too leafy. That wouldn't work. But Dark Angel's green and Caliban green, they've almost got a jewelly quality to it. As they're a little bit warmer. So even if they are darker, they would work next to silver, absolutely. Speaking of green and silver, would you ever do the Green Knight? Yeah, maybe. I've got a lot of other Bretonians to do, though, before we get to the Green Knight. Good evening, Mini Painting Dad. Is that the green you used on your Elrond cloak? Do you know, I can't remember what I used on Elrond. I'd need to find the footage. I need to basically edit the Elrond video that I've got up until that point in order to remember what I did, because I cannot remember at all. What's a good paint scheme for an ocean base? I'm thinking Baharoth blue / Teclis blue. If you check out this video, an ocean base, Arcane Wasteland. So this one here. So this is the how to paint Arcane Wasteland bases. I think this combination of colours really works for like a sort of for an ocean. Any plans to paint Glorfindel? I really want to paint Glorfindel. Just need to buy him. Need to buy him and Thranduil. I started Instagram basically because my wife said I would need kind of a photo archive about how I did things, so I would always be able to go back and remember. It's a great reason to do a it's a great reason to do an Instagram. It is a really nice little way of having a video. That's how mine started basically. Nikolaj, thank you very much for the 45 Danish kroner, I think. Anyway, could you elaborate a bit on when to thin using Lahmian medium or contrast medium, respectively, in regards to contrast / shade / normal acrylics? Cheers. Yeah, so Lahmian medium is a really good all-purpose medium. It's basically both the mediums are paint without pigment in them, right? So when you add them to paints, you basically dilute said pigments. Now, contrast paint, contrast paint, as it were, has basically two different types of pigment in it. It's got heavy pigment and lighter pigment. And as it dries, it tightens, which then pulls it back from the edges, and it moves, theoretically, is what it should do, is you move the heavier pigment into the recesses. When you're painting armor, for example, where there aren't any recesses, then the pigment can tend to just sit on the flat surface. So the reason why it does that is because it hasn't got anywhere for it to go, which is why when we paint the way that I do, we glide across the surface rather than stab it on and layer it on thick, because that way you keep the heavy paint in the belly of the brush, and you're basically deploying like the lighter pigment to it, which is how you get that smoother finish. Now, contrast medium, what it does is it's contrast paint, so it's got the heavier pigment and the lighter pigment in it, whatever that is. It's got that combination of things in it. When you add that to contrast paint, it dilutes both pigments at the same time. So it creates more contrast paint, but it thins the colour down. Lahmian medium does not have two different things in it. It is just one thing, right? It's basically like distilled water for all intents and purposes. It's not. It's paint without pigment in it. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. I probably generally tend to would never use contrast medium to thin down normal acrylics, because it's kind of pointless. It's not really doing anything to them. I mean, it is thinning it down, right? But it might just be adding an element of a wild card element to an acrylic. It's not going to create a contrast paint out of an acrylic paint. It's just not going to do that. It might make one start to act like it, but it's not going to do the thing that contrast paint does. So Lahmian medium, if you want to thin down acrylic paints like, Dawnstone or Karak Stone or whatever, Lamy and medium is best for that, or just water. Usually you can just use water for that because you're not going to corrupt the paint too much. You're just going to thin it down a little bit to improve the flow. Now, when it comes to thinning down contrast paints and shade paints, I generally will flip between the two, contrast medium or Lamy and medium. Now, the reason I use Lamy and medium is because I want to improve the flow of the paint. And because it's not going to be doing two different thinning processes at the same time, it's just going to thin the paint down, which therefore makes it a little bit runnier. It makes it a little bit more watery, which makes it a little bit more familiar in terms of applying it to your miniatures. So the reason I would use Lamy and medium is if you want to improve the flow and make the paint easier to apply, Lamy and medium is the one to add. If you want to change the colour of the paint by thinning it down, so making it a weaker shade, use contrast medium, right? So if you apply lots of Lamy and medium to Wildwood, you get a really, really easy to apply sort of mid-brown tone. If you apply lots of contrast paint to Wildwood, it starts to become more like Agrax Earthshade. Does that make sense? Cat, man, you've painted 170 models just in 2024 so far. I don't think I've painted half that many total yet. Yeah, we're already on 170, and hopefully by the end of April we'll be on 200. Would Lamy and medium help reduce dark pooling / spots with some contrast paint like Assaman Blue? Yes. So Lamy and medium will do that. It will help with the pooling, right? What it will do is as soon as you start thinning colours down with anything, it will start to reduce the power of said colours. So if you use Lamy and medium to thin down your contrast paints, they will start to lose some of their brightness, because that is just the nature of what happens when you start diluting it, which is essentially what you're doing. But what Lamy and medium does is it moves it closer towards a shade paint, which makes it more familiar to apply. Cameron has been a member for 11 months. He says, whoop whoop, closing in on the big one. Much love to all your videos showing off your mad skills. I'd be so lost and grey without them. Thank you very much, Cameron. And thank you much for the almost 1 year of support. That is incredible. You guys are the best. So I have a pot of black template that's started to thicken slightly. Based on what you said, I should add some Lamy and medium to resolve that without weakening the colour. Yeah. So if you drop a number of a few drops of Lamy and medium in there and just give it a really good thorough shake, you will help lessen some of that thickening going on. Mr. ADR Wargaming has gifted 10 of the finest Warhipster memberships, like an absolute boss. Thank you very much, Adam. Legend. That puts us on 663. Which means we're 37 members away. 37 members away from 700. Thank you, Adam. That's very kind of you. Adam has gifted a further 5 memberships. Like an absolute boss. What are you doing? What are you doing, sir? Mini Painting Dad has gifted 5 memberships. And then he's gifted another 1. Hang on. Well, unfortunately, we got to 669. Oh my god, I've forgotten what we were on. What were we on? We were on that. That was what we were on? So we're on 674, I think. We skipped 666. Yeah. Well, as you can see, we're 146 subscribers away from 61666. We shall become Legion. Thank you very much, Mini Painting Dad, and thank you very much, ADR Wargaming, Mr. the Adam. You're very, very kind. Very, very kind people. That puts us on 28 new members today. And we are, if we just double that, 26 more, we'll get to 700. We are one street further than the beast. Exactly. I've been watching your how to use contrast video after disaster with my Votan with me using a mix of contrast and base paint on my Stormcast. Do you have any further tips? Do I have any further tips? Yeah, I mean, there are some colours that are easier to use than others, for sure. The newer range of contrast paints, the second wave, generally have tended to be a little bit almost spot on every single time. The only one that's a bit funny from that new range at times is Celestium Blue. It can sometimes be a bit strange. Really, the best thing I can say is that your brush choices is I think I covered this in that video, but the technique is about not deploying all the paint in your brush at once, which is very difficult to do when you're coached into using base and layer paints. What you want to look for is not bending the brush too much as you're applying it, because the more parts of the bristles that make contact with the model means that there's more paint that's being applied. The way I've tended to do this when you're painting across large flat surfaces is you're sticking towards the tip of the brush and gliding across the surface. And as I said earlier, what that generally tends to mean is your brighter colour gets deployed, or your mid colour or whatever. The colour of the paint actually gets deployed, but the heavier pigment stays towards the middle of the brush. Once the heavier pigment starts making contact with the model, that's where it starts getting left behind. Take things a section at a time. Always take things at a section at a time. Don't apply it in like just haphazardly. You have to be a little bit more controlled and measured in the way that you apply it. Just going like, do the foot, then the shin, then the back of the leg, then the hip, then so on and so forth. You know, there's if you check out the, I think there's a thing about brush control and mixing paints and all that kind of stuff as well on the video. You know, once you get the knack, you then realize how it works, and then it just becomes much easier to do things. If you are going to be applying contrast paint over the top of base and layer paints, a really important thing that I don't think I ever iterate is just make sure that the base and layer paints are dry, because contrast paint will do it's like adding anything over the top of anything. Base and layer paints tend to dry pretty quickly, but especially if it's like a metallic, sometimes they can stay a little bit wetter than you think they are because they're shiny. And you know, all wet paint looks shiny. So just like, you know, if you're painting in a batch, you should be fine, but don't like paint model 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then go 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go through it like that, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, and so on and so forth. Kat says, I gotta say, every time I tune in, which is admittedly not often enough, you're always such a beacon of positivity and helpfulness. Thanks so much for all the content and good vibes. Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Kat. Tuning in even just once is very lovely of you. There's no such thing as not enough. But thank you for tuning in at all. Dan E came across from a Great Hall raid, taking time to go through and check out your videos. Really enjoying the way you do your tutorials. Loving the technical explanations. Oh, thank you. I try. I try to be as helpful as I possibly can. Could try a drop of airbrush thinner. I find it helps with streaking / staining. Yeah, airbrush thinner is basically another medium as well. So that can also work if you've got loads and loads of that stuff just milling about. Can I reiterate how awesome Laura Brand and Captain Mannerings are and how lucky I was to meet them in person last Saturday? You can reiterate it. They're awesome people. You're all awesome people. Meeting you all is the best. I have the best community in the world. And every YouTuber says that, but I actually mean it. Just check out my Discord, which you can get into if you remember. Just saying, if you want to be in there. Do you only use Games Workshop paintbrushes? Mostly I use Games Workshop paintbrushes. However, I do use Artis Opus brushes for like the fine detail work. I have also started using some Vallejo brushes as well, because I think the Vallejo brushes are really good. I am in the market for, if anyone can recommend one, I am in the market for a good detail brush that is like the Artis Opus Series S size 00, round about that size. If you have any great recommendations, drop them in. Problem is a lot of this stuff is out of stock at the moment. I've been trying to find a replacement brush. It's not crucial right now, but I will need one in the next couple of weeks. I'm starting an Adeptus Custodes army. Any suggestions for the best gold paint for coverage and look? I've done a lot of Custodes videos. Honestly, I really like priming them bright and then applying the gold by hand. Retributor armor. I use Retributor armor for everything. I really love my gold recipe. Retributor armor followed by a roughly 1-to-1, sometimes 2-to-1 mix of contrast medium or Lamia medium, whichever you prefer, and Fire Slayer flesh, or just Fire Slayer flesh on its own. Then you relayer the Retributor armor over the flat panels, and then you use a 2-to-1 mix of Stormhost silver and Retributor armor to highlight it, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Greetings from Canada. Wanted to pop in and thank you for everything. My 12-year-old daughter and myself are brand new to Warhammer, etc., and your teaching methods equals top-notch. Kudos, sir. Thank you, Jason. Greetings to you from the UK. Do you like Windsor and Newton? So this is the thing. I don't know. I just want to get some recommendations. If I can get my hands on them, then I'll get my hands on them. No, I'm glad, Jason, you and your daughter are enjoying the videos. Oh man, that's so wholesome. I love that. It's one of the main reasons why I do it. Hello, Kataro. Rosemary and Co. Just rebranded Rosemary and Co. brushes. Yeah, I hear this all the time. Where can I get them, though? Because every time I go and look, Rosemary and Co. brushes. Every time I look, I can never find them. They always seem to be out of stock. And their website doesn't work. Or it's not working for me right now, so great. Captain Crunch asks, thoughts about the new Skaven coming out? I'm very excited for them. Let me guess, I'm late again. Only a little bit, Katara. We kicked off at 8:30. An hour and a half ago. Were you releasing a video for the Mandrake kill team? Torbis, I will indeed. Here it is. That video is coming out tomorrow. It is coming out tomorrow. You don't have to wait too long for that. A mere less than 24 hours. 7:30 PM tomorrow. UK time. Do you think that GW release any more new Night Lords? I don't for now, Conic Melter. I'll have it investigate. I'll see what I can get. See if I can get my hands on it. You know what I would really love is just for any one of these brush companies to sponsor the channel and send me the brushes. I would love that. I am a painting channel after all. If you are part of a brush company, you make brushes and wish to advertise them here on Warhipster, you can. I have over 61,000 subscribers. That's a lot of people who watch painting videos and might buy your brushes. Hashtag just saying. It would also save me a lot of money. Any news for the Uthak tutorial? Right, yeah, so part of what we've been talking about tonight is I didn't get sent him. So he has been built, he is ready to go, but it's a case of when do I ever have the time to do it. So part of what we've been talking about tonight, for those of you who are just joining us now, we've been talking about changing things up a little bit in the month of May. And taking May basically as a holiday from doing all of the new stuff as it comes out. Using May to do stuff that I've been meaning to do for a long time, but haven't gotten the time to do. So, things like Uthak Blackhawk, whatever the hell his name is, he is a model that is part of that, right? Because he's a great model, he's a fantastic model, but I didn't get sent him, so I was working on something else at the time, and then something else has come up afterwards, and so it's then a case of it just goes on and on and on and on and on. So we haven't got to doing it. That is the type of thing that I would like to do in the month of May. So when I'm saying maybe taking a little break, take a little break from just sticking to the release schedule and doing a bunch of stuff that I haven't had the time to do. Stuff like That Blackhawk. Stuff like doing orcs for Adam, who was texting me about that earlier. Despite knowing how busy I am all the time, Adam. Just because he wants to smash his mates at 40k with a brand new codex. I'm just pulling your leg, mate. The things like Eisenhorn or things like, stuff like that. Just getting all of that stuff done. It's just, it's when do I ever have the time? The Saviours of Cinderfall. Shalaxi Hellbane, as you've all been asking. Kairos Fate Weaver. Blood Crushers. Varangard. Stuff that I never have time to do. That I just want to get done. And I want to clear miniatures out of this house. You know, either get them fully painted and put them into my armies, or get them fully painted and then get them to the people who want them. You know? Yeah, there's 3 torments. Yeah, exactly that, Captain Crunch. Did you see my earlier question about painting DOK? No, I'm sorry, Alec. Didn't see it, Alec, man. What was it? What's your recommendation for achieving a blue glow effect without an airbrush? I'm working on a Night Lancer and need something for the shield. So one thing I found that can work really well for blue glows. Let me look at the Night Lancer. 1 second. So like for doing glows, one of the best things you can do is take like a white paint, thin it down quite a lot so it's quite runny, and then drop that into recesses. Once you drop that into the recesses, you then go over it with a blue contrast paint, a bright one like Talasar blue or Assaman blue or whatever. If you do that, you then get why? Honest to God. Why is there no 360 of the Night Lancer? Riddle me that, Games Workshop. That is one way I found of doing that. If you check out some things like my Eternus video, you can see all of the runes and stuff on that. Was one way that I did that. I did the glowing blue runes. Runes. What I would really like them to do is to make a blue version of, what's it called? Tesseract Glow. That would be really nice. I want my Daughters of Cain, Melisai, and Kinneride to cry tears of blood, but some of them wear gold masks. Is contrast correct for that? If so, what medium? Do they cry actual tears of blood? Because if they cry actual tears of blood, your best bet is using Blood for the Blood God. And just building that up. But you're working on such a fine, small space. Actually having medium in there is just going to make the paint more unruly. Because it's only on the face, right? And you're adding like little bits of red. Just using a bit of Blood Angel's red, you'll be fine. You don't need to thin it down. Jacaro Orange for Tomb Kings. Fed up with normal scheme. Any ideas on other colours to complement it? To complement orange. Let me consult the world. I mean, a complementary colour of orange is blue, or green, depending on the warmth of the orange. Purple can work with orange. Like a triad that works with orange is purple, green, and orange. That can work. They're complementary colours to each other. Craigus Maximus asked, what was your favourite FEC house colour scheme? So one of my favourites was Blister Skin. I really liked Blister Skin. However, to paint lots and lots of Blister Skin miniatures would take a long time. That being said, just doing a lot of stippling is really fun. So I think it would look really cool on things like Crypt Horrors. What was that in response to, Captain Bannerings? Do you have plans to paint some more Ossiarch Bone Reapers? Loved the Ossifector and Catacross tutorials. At the moment, no, but that can change. I don't currently have many Ossiarch Bone Reapers in stock, as it were, here. The only other Ossiarch Bone Reaper I have, really, is Nagash. Which I want to do. But he's Nagash. So that's like a week's work. Chat says use real blood. Oh, I would never recommend that. You'll pass out after a while. Are the rest of the Cruel Boys a May time plan or a bit later? So imminently I will be doing the Breaker Boss on Maya Brute Troggoth. Imminently. That's like #1 to do in May. Because I desperately need to get it done. How would you tackle Caradron Overlords? I always feel like there's something a bit uninspiring about the box art, like not enough contrast to it, but I love the theme and the models. I really liked the what's he called? Drecky Flint. Now the question is, where is Drecky Flint? Is he in there? Ugh. My little arms are not long enough. Yes. So I've got a video for him. This isn't the best light, of course. But I really liked the blue on him. He was a lot of fun, and I think that jazzes them up just a little bit. If you check out I've got the video on it, how to paint Drecky Flint. He also gets his own. Currently, he can be the captain of I want to say Arcanaut frigate, which has a name. So that's quite fun, and that might stick around in AOS 4. But I think the blue really adds something to them. I think they look great. It's blue, silver, and white. It's very royal, so it's quite nice. Are you planning on doing painting tutorials for the new Skaven line once it releases? If you aren't overloaded, that is. Oh, absolutely, Kat. The Skaven So all the Skaven, I plan to do all of the Skaven and all of the Stormcast from the new box. The point is, I want to get ready to be able to just commit my entire life to painting that, and just getting a lot of stuff done before that. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of stuff. But yeah, I intend to do all of the Skaven. I'm very, very excited for them. As I was very excited for the Cruel Boys, but there's something so compelling about Skaven that I'm just very excited to have them. They are obviously going to be part of the. They're obviously going to be part of the new the Grand Army of Chaos, which of course has taken a while to have some reinforcements added to it, but of course that will be changing very, very soon. Hopefully Games Workshop sends me Abraxia, the Spear of the Everchosen. I really want that model. Josh's version of R&R is more painting. That is correct, Captain Mannerings. Which sounds like it's incredibly unhealthy. And it probably is. Honestly, I don't remember what it was like to paint something just for me. Like, without putting it on camera. It's been a while. Is the Mandrakes tutorial coming soon? I'm waiting for that tutorial to paint mine. It will be out tomorrow. 2no98. Joe does the same thing, doesn't he? What? I can never figure out what the hell Joe's doing. Every time I talk to him, he's doing something else. He paints a lot for the channel, of course he does. Yeah, he he is just as bad a hobby butterfly as Liam. So yeah, could you fit a marsh crawler slogoth into May as well if possible? I'd have to buy one, Cameron, but I'll see what I can do. I think the only other thing I've got left after the breaker boss is a beast skewer kill bow, and then more gut rippers. I'm currently painting Cruel Boy's Monster Killers. Need them done for a narrative event at the weekend. Flying Muttley, you're always doing narrative events, and I love it. I love how much you do. You're a very, very, very impressively productive painter. Someday, when I have my own studio, I'll run events. I'll run narrative events. And then we'll film them. And I will never have a day off ever again. Alice, I hope you're not watching. No, eventually I'll have other people to do stuff for me. I have a friend who is convinced you don't really use White Scar Primer. Can you debunk this theory? I mean, yeah, I do use White Scar Primer. I don't really know how to debunk that other than priming something on camera for you. I use White Scar Primer. I have found it to be one of the best white primers on the market. It was a massive, drastic improvement over a lot of white primers I used before. So things like what's it called? Corax White Primer is absolutely the worst. I hated it. You maybe got one good model out of a can of Corax White, and then eventually it would turn to grainy mush. I always found with Corax White Primer, you either have to use the whole can or just prime one model and then you're done with it. Army Painter's Matte White Primer I did not like at all because I don't like the can. The button on it is horrible as well. And again, it's very sticky. It's a weirdly sticky primer. I've not tried... No, I have tried the matte white from Colourforge. That was pretty good. That was alright. We primed a couple of Alice's Nighthawk models with that. Because it was the only white primer I could get my hands on at the time. So I did that. But, yeah, the primers that I use, unless I specifically say otherwise, they're always, you know, in all the videos, the primer is what I say it is. It's either Grey Seer, Wraithbone, or White Scar. Mechanica Standard Grey, Chaos Black, or in some cases, like with I think the Snot Goblin terrain. Maybe I can't remember. Can't remember what I used for that. But if I use a Colourforge primer, I will use a Colourforge primer. So yeah, I always use White Scar primer. I really like it. It's a good primer. I always wondered what's the difference in the Grey Seer versus Wraithbone. Is it going to change the end result a lot? Yeah, well, it depends. So the difference between Wraithbone and Grey Seer is one is warm and one is cold. The best way I can demonstrate this right now is if you look at, we did this on Monday. I'll demonstrate for you now. So right now we're under 5200 Kelvin's light. This is a neutral daylight lamp. If I go all the way over to a 5600K, that's actually brings us closer towards blue. That starts to make things look a little bit bluer. If we go back the other way and start to go this way, I'm not changing colour, but the light is changing colour. So this is a 3200 Kelvin light. So Wraithbone and Grey Seer act like this, right? If you, this is the same. This is the colour I am. 5200K is what I always film under. Everything's like that because it's a neutral daylight light. Wraithbone will add a hint of warmth to your colours. Grey Seer will cool them down, which then means that Grey Seer ends up looking darker, and Wraithbone ends up looking brighter. But actually, the difference is that one is warm and one is cold. So a red will look different. Blood Angel's red will look warmer over Wraithbone and therefore brighter, and look colder over Grey Seer and therefore darker, even though they're the same. It's the same colour. White Scar sits in the middle, but it is brighter than both of them, so it's more neutral. But it will make the colours feel like it will make the colours look a little bit brighter. So ultimately, you can introduce elements of cold into anything, and you can also warm stuff up all the time. But that is fundamentally the difference between the two. Josh, have you noticed that the Mechanica Standard Grey Primer and Paint Pot are drastically different, or is it just me? Sort of, they are mini creative. Now, what I've discovered is if you actually prime it black first and then do Mechanica Standard Grey, it actually looks closer to what the Paint Pot is. Because what you're doing with the... Basically, you're spraying a mid colour over a bright grey, is how it ends up looking brighter than Mechanica Standard Grey out of the pot does. It's because of that. So if you spray it black and then Mechanica Standard Grey afterwards, it looks closer to the pot. If that makes sense. But yes, it does. They do look drastically different. It's the same for if you apply Retributor Armor spray directly over grey, and then you apply Retributor Armor out of the pot over it, it looks completely different. Any tips for making metallic like Iron Hand Steel, Retributor Armor, and Liberator Gold look better on the model? Would a wash help? Yeah. So, shade paints always dramatically improve metallics. They always do. I generally tend to go for a warm, depending on what the final finish you want of the metallic is. If you want like a nice warm bright metallic for gold, then using a flesh coloured paint really works for that, because it adds that hint of redness and pinkiness into the recesses. For Iron Hand Steel, for example, if you want to make it, you can do a lot with silver, right? You can make it look battered, you can make it look heavy, you can make it look industrial, you can make it look blue, you can do all that kind of thing just by changing the nature of the shade. So using things like, Space Wolves Grey, or Nuln Oil, or Drakenhof Nightshade, or Griff Charger Grey, or Coelia Green Shade, Or Agrax Earthshade, in fact, doing all that kind of stuff. Black Templar as well. All of that can fundamentally change what a metallic looks like. What you can then do is, if you want actually the color of the metallic, again, if you look at basically any of my like Hammers of Sigmar or Hallowed Knights or Grey Knights or Custodes videos, using the metallic, shading it, and then relayering the same metallic while just avoiding the recesses will just make those metallics absolutely pop off the screen and consequently off of your paintbrush to your eyes. Have you ever used Retributor spray and found that wet washes don't settle on it properly? Yes, I have found that. It's because the primer can end up being a little bit glossy. So there's not really much there for the paint to actually grip onto, if that makes sense, when you're using like a shade, for example. So when you're applying like stuff directly over the gold, and this is what can happen sometimes when you're using a contrast paint over like Grey Seal or Wraithbone, it can be that the paint has, for whatever reason, either had a bit of moisture introduced into it, or it's come out with a glossy finish for some strange reason. I don't know why it does it from time to time, but it does. When it's got a bit of the gloss in there, you're creating basically a smooth surface to drop paint onto. And if you drop like a little droplet of paint or something onto glass, for example, it beads up and it rolls down the glass. Essentially, that's what's happening there. So it's the paint's just beading up and leaving the place where you want it to be. Yeah, as Flying Muttley says there, the metallic sprays can do that. Either hit it with a varnish or possibly a dry brush of the same colour from the pot. Yeah. What would you recommend for Liberator Gold? My goal for the whole army is to give my Stormcast a Middle-earth Elven feel and look to them, so want the metals to not look hugely battle damaged. So I've had, if you look at stuff like my Lumineth videos, I think I generally tend to use Liberator Gold for all the trim, and then I shade it with Agrax Earthshade, and then relayer it to give it that brighter, that brightness that it has. Agrax Earthshade works really well as a shade in Middle-earth because a lot of those colours are more grounded. They're not quite as shiny and bright as you find in other fantasy settings. Like, for example, this version of Herogrim, you see how it's a little bit darker around there. It's because there's a little bit more of a realism to it. So within there, it's just that's a dark sort of burnished silver that's going on there. So using things like Agrax Earthshade really works for things like Liberator Gold. However, if you don't want it to look too things like that, you could try something like Targor Raid Shade, which again is a bit more of a realistic shade, but is not like super dirty like Agrax. And John at the bar says, hearing the background music reminds me at night while hobbying your videos are on and my wife thinks I'm watching porn with some of your intro music. Love it. Yeah, yeah, I can hear that. Sometimes I choose music because it just makes me laugh. One of the best things that I get all my music, for anyone who's interested in it, I get all of my music from this place called Epidemic Sound. That's the website I use. One of the best one of the best genres that is on here is 1980s pop. Which can generally tend to either sort of, I mean, if we move to something like this. This has been in a video. I just love this. I just love this type of thing. Because, you know, not a lot of people expect Warhammer to be all metal all the time, and I'm like, nah. What about Is This Love by Particle House? Or I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the best song on Epidemic Sound. This is called Keep Me Entertained by Matty Maguire. I love this. I use this on a couple of videos. There you go. I just love it so much. That intro is just one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of the videos is actually choosing the intro music. And I go through like phases, right? So I'll just be like, I'm gonna go through a funk phase, or I'll go through a lo-fi phase, or whatever. I used to try and like match the music to the mood of the miniature for ages, and I was like, that's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is just to pick something that's cool. So that is generally what I tend to do. They got some absolutely sick stuff on Epidemic Sound. I've used loads of it, as you know. There's a couple of occasions where I've used the same intro music on certain videos, but most of the time I try and stick to something new. They have recently added 4 thrash metal tracks, which are pretty good. So let's try this one. Executive Troll by Dylan Knighton. It's pretty good. There's shades of like, there's shades of Iowa from Slipknot in there, because you've got the kind of the glitching and stuff that's going on in there. I mean, some of the riffs are a little bit familiar. But it's a little bit more. The reason I say Iowa is I think it kind of. A little bit more melodic than their debut album, but not quite there as Subliminal Verses got to. You can just hear it, right? I love music. There you go. Devil in Eye as well. Yeah, definitely there. Anyway, guys, it is 25 minutes to 11. So we've run over. We've had an additional 6 minutes. But thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. You guys have been the best. I feel confident that we can take the month of May to do some stuff like Adam's Orcs. We'll try and get some of them done, in amongst a lot of other things as well. So yeah, I may well change things up. This is where they're then going to announce, you know, Blood Angels mid-May, and then I'm going to be like, oh great, best laid plans and all that. But thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Really enjoyed it. Great stream as always. You guys are the best. You guys make, oh god, you guys make this easy. Just end up turning off the lights for a second. You guys make streaming the best thing that I can possibly do on the channel. It's great fun. Love talking to all of you. You're the best. Thank you so much to viewer activity. I want to say a big thank you to Dougie Jones, Simply Brazen, Dave Hall, Toads Pilot, Below the Blade, Nelazar, Nikolai, Cameron, Mr. ADR Wargaming, Mini Painting Dad for all the gifted memberships and the super chats. 28 new members tonight. You guys are the best. Love it. Thank you very much. See you all very soon for another live stream, of course. Well, actually, I'll see you tomorrow for a Mandrakes tutorial. And then we'll be back on Saturday with another painting tutorial. I wonder what that could be. Not painting tutorial. A different type of video. You know the ones that normally come out on Saturdays. See you all very soon. Here is the hand of farewell. Love you. Goodbye. Best audience ever. Goodbye. Farewell. Farewell. Lots of love. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.